guys? The Glorious Robbie Rotten here, and I'm here to run down my top 5 wrestlers of the year. And it's been a great year for professional wrestling, for sports entertainment, whatever you like to watch, whatever you like to call it. And I'm going to name my top 5 performers of the year. I'm going to go first, start with an honorable mention, so really it's 6. So I'm cheating a little bit, but honorable mention, I'm going to go with Bayley. Bayley's always been one of my favorite female superstars, wrestlers. And I think she's had really a rejuvenation this year, especially when she won the Women's Money in the Bank match and cashed in immediately. And then when she turned heel, and I just really enjoy her work, especially the latter half of this year. And even in the beginning half when she won, and Sasha won the women's tag team titles, that was cool. And she's just had a good year. Not good enough to make my top 5, but very close. Number 5, I am going to go with Seth Rollins. I know, probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't care what the internet wrestling community says. I think the man has had a stellar year. I mean, from January through August, the man was consistently probably the top male star in the company. And he just tore it up. He burned it down through most of the year. I mean, he had a couple hiccups with the Bray Wyatt match. That's really just one thing that was not good, but that's not even his fault. That's just the booking. And people were saying his character was stale, and look what happened. They listened to us, or to you guys. I had no problem with Seth Rollins. They listened to the wrestling community and turned him heel, and he's flourishing as a heel right now. So I think he's had a great year. He won the Royal Rumble. He beat Brock Lesnar twice, including one clean victory. It's the first clean loss Lesnar suffered since he came back. Besides Goldberg. But the only 2 people to beat him clean are Goldberg and Seth Rollins. That's pretty good. That's a good year to me. Number 4, we have the man, Becky Lynch. Inarguably the top female superstar in wrestling today, and possibly the top star in WWE today. It's definitely an argument can be made for that. And she had a great year, especially the first half, with winning the Women's Royal Rumble and main eventing and winning both championships in the main event of WrestleMania. Becky 2 belts. I was there for that. It was a great moment. And definitely a great year for her. She's fallen off a little bit in the second half of the year, but she's still on top of the mountain. So she's definitely making my list for those reasons. Number 3, Kofi Kingston. I'm so happy to say that he had a fantastic year, starting out with his performance in the Gauntlet match on Raw. I think it was the beginning of February. And then he went on to almost win the title in that stellar Elimination Chamber match. And then he finally captured the gold at WrestleMania 35. Again, I was there. Such a great moment. I was so happy for him. I've been a fan of Kofi Kingston for a long time, and he finally got his due. He lost his title in a pretty tragic way in 8 seconds to Brock Lesnar. That was pretty lame, but he had a 6-month world title run, something most people never thought they'd see from Kofi Kingston. So that constitutes a fantastic year for any wrestler in my book. Number 2, we have Bray Wyatt, also the Fiend, or is it not? I don't know. What a comeback this man has had. He's kind of been an afterthought for most of the past 2, 3, 4 years, ever since his debut in 2013. And now look at him. He is the top star on SmackDown, possibly the top male star in the company right now. I don't know. It's kind of up in the air, but you can't deny how popular this guy is, how over the Fiend has gotten, and how over the Firefly Funhouse has gotten. What an inventive idea. He would probably top this list if he wrestled a little bit more, but he only started wrestling at SummerSlam. So that is the reason why he's not number 1, but regardless, he has had an amazing year. What a reinvention for him. And I can't wait to see what the next year, next 2 years, what the rest of his career brings for Bray Wyatt. I've always loved that guy, and he's just so good at everything he does. So Keep it up, Bray. And number one, the undisputed superstar of the year, or wrestler, superstar, whatever you want to call it, of the year to me is Adam Cole, baby. How can you say it's anybody else? Every match that this man has had in 2019 has been a 5-star classic or close to it. Just on fire. He's so good. Everything he has done this year has been incredible. And I can't give it to anybody else. That's what else can I say? Adam Cole, number one superstar of the year, 2019, well deserved.
I saw you standing there in a mist of a dream. So good to me that I stopped and I stared. I wondered why, oh why.
All right, so it is the end of 2019, and we're just going to go over my top 5 wrestlers of the year. These can be they're all over the place. So without further ado, number 5 I have is Rey Fenix. I think with him in AEW, it's giving more people a look at somebody who I have said time and time again is the most fluid wrestler in all of wrestling that I've ever seen. And he just has put up match after match of quality performances so far this year, especially in AEW, but also in AAA. Him versus Omega was a very good match. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think that you should definitely try to seek it if you can. Number 4 I have is Becky Lynch. She has been probably the best booked woman on the main roster this year. One of the best women in the world. I prefer her over Charlotte. I know there's some people who would probably say Charlotte's better than her. I think Becky's the workhorse of the division. She's got the best gimmick right now on the main roster for women, but she also is putting very good matches throughout the year. With the exception of maybe the Lacey feud and then her and Rollins getting put together, which definitely knocked her down a bit in my book, I would say that she had the best year for women on the main roster, but not the best woman in WWE, and that would be my number 3. And if you said at the beginning of the year that somebody from NXT, woman-wise, was going to be on my top 5, I would have probably said it would have been either Io Shirai or Kairi if she was still down there, or even Shayna, who's improved greatly throughout her run as champ. But my number 3 is actually Rhea Ripley. I think that her matches this year, her storytelling has been great. She was made the first ever NXT UK Women's Champ, beating Toni Storm in a very surprising way, then losing it, having some great matches against Xia Brookside, having a pretty good feud with Piper Niven, before transitioning back into the main NXT roster, and just having a blowaway final quarter of the year. Her in War Games was fantastic. Her selling, her storytelling, her just overall wrestling ability, considering she is younger than myself, it is scary just how good she is for such a young woman. And then She easily stole the show at Survivor Series, and her match against Shayna this 2 weeks ago at this point now was just a very good women's match, and in general just a really good match. It was probably my women's match of the year, but just the incredible rise, then a little bit of a fall, and then back up to being the top woman in, I think, all of wrestling right now. I think she is the best women's wrestler, storyline, booking wise, whatever, on the planet right now. Number 2, I have Adam Cole, Bebe. I think that he has really pushed a title reign that I didn't think was going to be very long. I thought that when he beat Gargano, it was just going to be a kind of transitional thing. I thought that we would have saw NXT pushing more of the guys up to Raw and SmackDown. I thought that Undisputed Era was definitely going to be moved up before Survivor Series once he won the title. I thought he would hold it till middle of the year, lose it to somebody, maybe Velveteen, maybe Kushida. Somebody was going to take it off him. And unfortunately, they didn't do that. He's been outstanding. And he's really pushed the bar for NXT. He's been one of the best champs that they've had in recent memory. And I'm glad that they didn't push him up. And hopefully at this point, I would love to see him hold the title for almost a year at this point. I'd love to see him hold it till Mania weekend again. And my number 1 is Will Ospreay. I mean, the guy's easily one of the best wrestlers in the world. He can hang with anybody. He can get a good match out of anybody. And he pushes himself to the limit time and time again. And he just works himself with a crazy schedule. I think at one point, I want to say he was close to having almost 200 matches this year. And that's just insane to me. He had a great G1. He had an amazing Best of Super Juniors. He had matches in the tag league. He was everywhere, it seemed. And he just continues to show that he is the face of wrestling for the UK as well as internationally. And hopefully one day we get to see him more availably in America.
Number 5 is from SmackDown on July 16th. It's between Carmella and R-Truth. R-Truth is hiding because he doesn't want anyone to take his 24/7 championship. Carmella can't find him, but then finds him in a washing machine, but he's stuck. So he tries to get out and the washing machine falls over. Oh my gosh. I gave myself such a chuckle when I saw that segment. And that's why it made number 5 on my top 5 favorite moments list. Let's go to number 4. Number 4 is between The Miz, yes, that Miz, from Miz and Mrs., and his daughter, Monroe. They are dancing it off. And, of course, you know The Miz is doing that robot like I just did. Even better than I just did. I'm Glen Crawford, your forever eternal champ. But he dances better than me. Woo! That was some good dancing, let me tell ya. They were boogieing and joogieing all night. Number 3. Number 3 is between 2, not 1, but 2 legends. One side, we have the Big Daddy himself, Goldberg, versus the dead man, the one that is not alive, the one that actually has a job to bury dead people but somehow isn't alive, The Undertaker, boo, 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 in a match on a grand stage in Saudi Arabia. Boo, 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 boo. It's Goldberg versus Undertaker at Super Showdown. What a match that was. It was very, 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 very short, and they both like leathery old men. Yeah, just like Batista. Ow. ended up being really bad, and then Goldberg tried to do some spears and then he concussed himself and then he couldn't wrestle, and then that was the end of that match. Let's go to number 2! Number 2 is the face of this company, the man himself, John Cena. That's him. John Cena was on the Ellen show. He was popping and locking with Ellen. He walking out to that music. He sat down in the chair and was like, "Hey, what up? I'm John Cena. You can't see me." And started rapping. No, I wish he started rapping. He was talking about Fit Ops, his promotional charity to help veterans. Number 1 is coming up next. Here it comes. Woo! And the top moment, number 1 on Glen Crawford's top 5 moments of the year 2019 is SmackDown on December 27th, when Braun Strowman started breaking it down with the New Day. I'm Braun Strowman, and he was dancing, and then Kofi was dancing, and then Big Edie was dancing, and we're gonna get the titles, and then he's like, oh, and then they all danced together. Wow! What a moment that was. Definitely top moment of 2019. Probably most of the decade. Probably most of the centennial. Probably the most of this century. Probably the most in wrestling history ever. So if you didn't like my list, and you didn't listen to my promotions last month, which you should have because you would have lost, but it wouldn't matter because I got my money, then you can take all this and you can remember that I am your forever, eternal, Deep Six champion. And just Hot Take Jake will never be the Hot Take champion. Glen Crawford. Peacing out of 2019.
Run.
Alright, so it is officially 2020, and, Wrestle Kingdom, I'm recording this, right after Wrestle Kingdom, but, yeah, I'm a bit tired, but, everybody else has done their videos for their top 5 wrestlers, so it's time for me to do mine, and so just gonna get right into this. I think number 5, for me, would be Becky Lynch. I think she had a pretty good 2019, well, pretty stellar 2019, with some hiccups, and I'll get into that. But, yeah, she started off the year really good. She had her Royal Rumble was stellar. It was Becky versus Asuka, and probably one of my favorite women's matches of the year. And then she went on to win the Rumble, which, yeah, I mean, that's the fact that she had those 2 matches in one night, that says a lot. And then that was her ticket to WrestleMania. And then we all know the story of the underwhelming main event of WrestleMania. It was still a great moment, and to be there live was, again, something special, but the actual match itself was a bit underwhelming. I think that's mainly because Charlotte was added. I think they should have done Charlotte versus Asuka 2 as the secondary women's match, but, you live and you learn, and that's not what we got. But it did lead to Becky 2 belts, which was a pretty good idea, and again, seeing it was something cool, but as a whole, the execution just kind of felt muddled a bit to me. Her feuds at the time weren't really anything special. There was the whole Lacey Evans thing, and at first it was fine, but I think we got there was 2 singles matches. Then you had the Corbin thing with Seth, and Lacey was the special guest. And then there was the mixed tag. So it was 4 months of that being a feud. And it's I don't think anybody wanted that. Lacey wasn't ready for it. I think if you were to do it now, Lacey would be in a better place. She's definitely improved since then. But, and then I don't really remember when Becky dropped the title. her one title, but she became Becky one belt again, and I think that's really when like her year turned around. She had a pretty underrated match at SummerSlam with Natalya. Definitely worth going back to watch it. And then Sasha came back, and we got the really strong Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch feud. Still a bit upset that Becky didn't drop the title at Hell in a Cell. I think it was Sasha's time there, but, you know, it's whatever. The match was really good. Again, probably one of the better women's matches this year. And then she got the big Survivor Series main event with Becky versus Bayley versus Shayna, which, again, was a bit underwhelming. The show had already been pretty good. There were some really good matches on there. And it was already really long, too. So I don't know, it just didn't really live up to people's expectations, but at least we got the tease for Becky versus Shayna down the line, potentially at WrestleMania this year. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Becky Lynch. She had a really good 2019 with, again, a few hiccups that really prevented her from being higher on this list. Okay, so number 4 is over in New Japan. I'm going with Tomohiro Ishii. I think this is mainly based off the G1. I like his G1 performance. Just as soon as I saw like the entire G1, I was like, Tomohiro Ishii had like one of the best G1s I've ever seen. And I figured I need to put him in here because if I didn't, I feel like I'd be doing a disservice to my personal opinion and Ishii is a wrestler. So, you know, again, I probably could have put somebody else here, but I really just the string of matches he had in the G1 were absolutely fantastic. So going with Ishii. He also had the Never Openweight Championship for a bit and feuded with Taichi. I thought their match at, I think it was Dominion, was actually really good and kind of got me on the Taichi train. I think it really showed how good of a wrestler he can be when he tries, or if he's with the right opponent. And then him and Ishii faced off again in the G1, and I thought, again, it was a really solid match. So, you know, can't really hate on that. Again, those two have good chemistry. But yeah, so kind of a short one, but Ishii is my number 4. I thought he had a really fun G1 and some really good other matches throughout the year. So yeah, Ishii, number 4. My number 3 pick was a bit harder to make. I've been really like leaning on 2 people for this. I wanted another female, and then I also thought, you know, there's also Adam Cole. And I will say Adam Cole had a great year, but I don't know. Just part of me thinks that, like, I don't know. I really enjoy Adam Cole. I thought his matches with Gargano were great, but I also wouldn't have minded to see some other feuds going in NXT in the top spot. There are other people there besides Adam Cole and Johnny Gargano. So instead of Adam Cole, I'm going to go with Io Shirai. I thought that, my God, what a 2019 she had. You know, she was feuding with Shayna. She never won the belt. She should have won the belt, but she didn't. And we ultimately got the big moment with Rhea Ripley, which ended up probably being better. And then we got the heel turn out of nowhere from Io Shirai. And after the steel cage match, she beat the shit out of Candice LeRae. And then she came back, new look, completely different thing, like all black outfit, and some entrance music that they still haven't released on streaming, which is a goddamn travesty. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like this thing where a lot of WWE's been doing pretty good with heel turns lately. Not Dakota Kai. Not for me. They rushed that, and she really hasn't taken that well to being a heel. That's just my personal opinion. But Io Shirai, on the other hand, has been absolutely fantastic, along with like people like Bayley. So, you know, can't really hate that. Oh, and Finn Balor, too. But yeah, so Io Shirai, her match with Candice LeRae at TakeOver Brooklyn. No, TakeOver Toronto. It was Toronto this year because of SummerSlam. Excuse me. Was fantastic. Again, top-tier women's match. One of the best of the year. Probably topping my list. I thought those two absolutely tore the place down and stole the show on that card. And then throughout the rest of the year, again, she had pretty hot matches on NXT TV. She was in Women's War Games and had a big spot where she did a moonsault off the top of the cage. And then she was at Survivor Series. I choose not to talk about that because the Women's Survivor Series match was a mess. Just no. The booking was very strange. But yeah, Io Shirai, absolutely incredible 2019. She definitely was somebody who I was like, oh yeah, Io's pretty good, like throughout her NXT run as a face with like Kairi and her as a team. And then Kairi left and it was just Io. And I was like, oh, you know, she'll be a single star. She'll get the title, didn't get the title. And I was like, oh, well, fuck me, right? And then, you know, she turned heel and she completely reinvented herself. Like if you look at pictures from her as like the baby face with like the Sky Pirates and like to what she is now, she looks like a completely different person. It's crazy the transformation she went through. So yeah, number 3, Io Shirai. All right, coming in at number 2 for me is kind of a shocker for me because, you know, I've never been the biggest Cody Rhodes fan. I think he's always been good, and he's good at storytelling, but I've never been, like, blown away by him for in-ring stuff. But number 2 is going to be Cody Rhodes. My God, going into, like, AEW, I was like, oh, man, Omega's going to steal the show, and he's just going to be, like, the old Kenny Omega. But he kind of hasn't been. He's had really good matches, but he hasn't gotten to, like, the level that he was in New Japan, personally. He's had a few ones that have come close, like him versus Pac. But, yeah, Cody, like, every single match this guy has, like, it's just, like, I don't even know. Like, there was him versus Dustin, there was him versus Darby Allin, there was him versus Jericho. It's just, like, again, this man is, like, incapable of having bad matches in 2019. So I'm hoping he continues this trend in 2020. Looking forward to Cody versus MJF. A bit skeptical that they're doing it so early at Revolution, but I doubt it's the last match we're going to see between the two. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say on that. Again, like, just watch any of Cody's big matches in 2019, and you'll just be like, God damn, this guy's good. Again, probably one of the best storytellers in the ring working today, and I just think it really shines through his work. So, yeah, Cody's absolutely getting a spot on here. He's taking the number 2 spot, but not the number 1. That's reserved for somebody else. All right, so my number 1 spot, with me watching New Japan, I feel like it's pretty obvious that I would say it's Will Ospreay, but it's not. It's going to be Jay White, the Switchblade. I think this guy, he stole the show for me in 2019. I've been a Switchblade fan since he debuted. I own a couple shirts. You know, I do like to breathe with the spooky knife pervert. And, yeah, I don't know. He just completely just, like, I was worried at the beginning of the year when, like, you know, well, okay, to be fair, he won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, and I was like, okay, cool. But then he had to drop it right back to Okada, and I was like, please don't let Jay fall down the card. And then he didn't. He kind of just reinvented himself again. He grew, like, a full beard out and looks like just, like, a comic book villain. And it's just like, yeah, I like this. You know, Jay's doing really well with that. He's taken to it. Bullet Club looks stronger than ever. The faction that, like, kind of seemed like it was going to die, at, like, or just become, like, stupid after the Elite left has completely changed and gone back to its roots, which is really cool to see. And under Jay's leadership, again, I think this is one of the better Bullet Club runs we've had. And again, his matches have been great too. Him versus Ishii from the G1 was really good. Him versus Ibushi in the G1 finals was absolutely stellar. One of my top matches of the year, if not my top match of the year. The guy is just, like, so good. Him versus Naito for the IC title. Again, he's just an absolutely fantastic wrestler. And he's a great heel. He doesn't, like, make you cheer for him. He's not like the cool heel that, cool heel that everybody cheers for. He's just, like, a genuine heel that you love to boo. And, like, they've played up the fact that, like, when he wins matches in the main event, people, like, fans in Japan just, like, walk out of the arena. They don't stay to listen to his promos. They just genuinely, like, he's not, like, a person they want to listen to. He's, like, a genuine heel that they hate and they boo the crap out of. And that's what he wants to do. And it's just, like, it's so refreshing to see that there's an actual, like, heel in wrestling. So, you know, because, like, even MJF, people still, like, kind of cheer him and they're, like, laughing with him. But, like, Jay, it's, like, people just boo him. And it's, like, it's because of what he's doing. It's not because he's bad, because he always delivers the matches and gets reactions. So, you know, Jay White's my top wrestler of the year. Will Ospreay, you did great. Some of your stuff is kind of a little too much for me, but I'm going Jay White. Jay White has my heart, my mind. It's a shame he didn't win at Wrestle Kingdom last night to go on to win Double Dash, but I have a feeling he won't. It won't be long until he gets another title. So yeah, that's my top 5 wrestlers of the year. I'm gonna send it on over to our Deep Six champion, Jiu Jitsu Joey.
All right, so now we are going to get into my top 5 wrestlers of 2019. I will start at number 5. Number 5, Adam Cole. Adam Cole basically carried NXT for the second half of the year. And he was spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. He was great at Survivor Series. He had great matches with Seth Rollins and Daniel Bryan before Survivor Series on Raw and SmackDown. And that's why he's at number 5. Number 4, Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston had the most meaningful year of his career. he was spectacular. His match with Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania was an instant classic. And he made some history, some great history. He is the first African-born WWE champion ever. So, hats off to Kofi Kingston. It took you 11 years to finally get the gold that you deserved, and you did it with nothing but class. So I applaud you. Number 3 is Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega. Again, Kenny Omega's match versus Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom was amazing. Not even that. When he left New Japan Pro Wrestling, he could have easily went to WWE, finished his career there. But he took a gamble on AEW, which is All Elite Wrestling, which was the new promotion this year, or last year now. And he took a gamble with them, and he has been amazing. And now he's part of something special. So again, Kenny Omega deserves that 3 spot. Number 2, Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch had the best year for not only a woman wrestler, but any wrestler. From Becky 2 belts, she held the SmackDown and Raw Women's Championship at the same exact time. She's had, great matches, and she really got over as the man. And that's something that you can't take away from her. So, again, Becky Lynch, number 2, you deserve it. And my number 1 best wrestler of 2019 is Will Ospreay. Yes, Will Ospreay of New Japan Pro Wrestling. No one in the world, when it came to pro wrestling, has had a better year in the ring than Will Ospreay. Basically, all of his matches, a majority of them, have gone down as instant classics. From his match at Wrestle Kingdom with Kota Ibushi, or his G1 Climax match versus Okada, like I mentioned. Or I think one of his best matches of the year was the Best of the Super Juniors versus Shingo Takagi. I hope I'm saying that right. But he also, not only did he beat Shingo, he gave Shingo's first loss in New Japan Pro Wrestling. So that was big. He's charismatic. He is super athletic, and just everything he does is gold. And it's a shame that, you could say not many people know about him, and they'll be like, why'd you pick Will Ospreay as your number 1? It's because he's part of New Japan Pro Wrestling, so a lot of people probably don't know who he is on, an American scale. But good for him. He really, truly deserves it. And he honestly should win Best Wrestler of the Year in 2019. And because honestly, you can, argue with your grandma, your aunt, your mom, but Will Ospreay is hands down the best wrestler of 2019. Hands down. So, that was my list. Short and sweet. Just wanted to remind you guys that, yes, I am the Deep Six champion. The one and only. And, yeah. I'm out of here.